everyone, and welcome to another. I was trying to think of an adjective to use, and I couldn't think of one on the top of my head. So, welcome to another probably chaotic and rambling episode of Podcast of the Fallen. I am your veteran Malazan reader host, Nathan, and I am joined, as always, by Matt.
Howdy, folks.
And I realized that we haven't really been saying what we're covering at the top of each episode. So we're covering Memories of Ice chapters 3 and 4 today. But also, you know that from clicking on the podcast because that's the title.
It's true.
So,
I mean, there's been times where I click on podcast episodes for other things and I forget what I clicked on. So, I mean,
that's fair.
it happens.
So,
it happens.
So, chapters 3 and 4 of Memories of Ice today because chapter 5 is a 50-page plus beast, and we didn't want to do over 100 pages in a week, even though we have done that before.
Yeah, we have. That's right. That was a hectic week.
Yes, it was too much almost. Yeah, I don't think there's really anything to talk about. Actually, I do want to shout this out on the podcast. I didn't see this until today, but so we're recording this December 4th, and on the r/Malazan podcast subreddit, which does exist. And if you know podcasters or content creators, you can go promote them there. We got a shout out by Huron Fan, which is a reference to a character named Huron Huron, Hurin, from Wheel of Time. Huron Fan is a host of the Green Team Legendarium's Malazan podcast series, and they shouted us out and said, I want to call out Podcast of the Fallen because Big Trouble in Little China is a classic. So we are sorry if we offended anyone with our derogatory nature of talking about Big Trouble in Little China, but I just thought that was fun that we got that from Huron Fan, and thank you for watching, Huron. It's nice to know that people in the community are listening to us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I fully apologize for that because you should just know it's not a great movie as much as you love it. Take off the rose-colored glasses of nostalgia and look at it, and you'll realize, wow, that's a strange movie. It's like an acquired taste.
I mean, one of my favorite movies is Napoleon Dynamite, and not everyone loves Napoleon Dynamite, so.
Which is, yeah, that's an amazing movie, but I could see why people don't like it, but.
Anyways, I just wanted to shout that out because I thought that was funny.
It's pretty. I forget how not long but long we've been doing this, and just I think it's funny that people, I don't know, actually listen to it. Maybe that's weird to say, but sometimes I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I forget this is there's enough people out there listening to this.
Yeah, so we're recording this December 4th. That was posted 11 days ago on r/Malazan podcast. So I'm sorry that we didn't see that earlier. Which is funny because that was a post in my subreddit that I created kind of so that we could promote this podcast. And then I haven't done it in there for a while. So I'll start promoting it more in there. Do we have anything else?
That I can think of. No.
Okay, we will jump right in. Chapter 3. The Maib thinks on the burden of the child that she's born and how it saps her life away. It's revealed that the child contains 2 Malazan mages within her. The Taistandi Korlat arrives to invite the Maibi to the parley. Dujek, Whiskey Jack, Artanthos, and Twist meet Kaladin Brood, Kalor, Korlat, the Maib, and Silver Fox. They take the measure of each other and are pleased. Crone and Dujek exchange barbs. Silver Fox almost reveals the origin of the Great Ravens, but is cut off by Crone. Whiskey Jack recognizes Brood's table and tells the story of it. He also almost recognizes Silver Fox. The situation in the city of Kapistan is explained. Tensions between the prince and ruling priests, the hiring of the Grey Swords, and so on. We also learn that the Teniskauri are cannibals. The commanders decide to save Kapistan if possible, but their main objective is striking for the Panyan Doman's heart. Kalor reveals that Silver Fox drains the Maib's light force and threatens her. Whiskey Jack slaps him with his gauntlet in retaliation, and Silver Fox explains how she came to be, with the souls of Tattersail and Nightchill inhabiting her. Her birth marks the gathering of the Talani Mass, and they are coming. Whiskey Jack reels with this revelation and silently accepts an invitation to speak with Korlat. Crone thinks on how the ravens were birthed like maggots from the flesh of the crippled god. Kalor sneers when the Talani-Mas war against the Jagut is mentioned, and Silver Fox snaps back. The Maib realizes that there was long enmity between Kalor and one of the souls within Silver Fox. Outside, Silver Fox asks Whiskey Jack to contact Piran for her. She doesn't possess many specific memories of Tattersail, just faces and feelings. Corlat and Whiskey Jack speak privately. I can't lie, that was a tough section. That was a tough chapter to summarize because most of it is really dense conversations full of information.
I made a note. I'm like, this reminds me of the dinner party in Dune. Like just kind of that. It's not
Oh yeah.
like it's just like there's just so many back and forth POVs they switches between through this whole short, like in a time frame, it's actually relatively short conversation. It just reminded me of that. I was like, wow, this is a lot of information. But for once, we get a lot of information.
Yes. Yes, we do. Yeah, so we start off with the Mybe watching Silver Fox, who we later learn is Tattersail Reborn.
I feel like that was
Or
pretty obvious.
partially Tattersail Reborn. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. But
Like that was one of those moments I was like, I got this. This makes sense. I know who that is.
well, when she's like, well, there are two Malazan mages within her. There's very few possibilities of a child that's been reborn with
I know.
two Malazan mages.
I like it was one of those moments I'm like, if I wasn't like really paying attention while reading, I could have easily missed that. Like I just know it, so I felt a little proud being like, I made those connections before I even had to get into the deep dive of info dump.
The description of the Mybe just gets to me and what it means to the Rivi, just like a clay pot that's for a single use and then it gets discarded. It's like, well, that's that's not a very good title. It's kind of sad and demeaning.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, no, I kind of thought the same thing. I was like, wow, it's a pretty depressing way to kind of finish your life, I guess.
Yeah, and
Like
I mean she's like 20.
she's 20? I thought she was older.
So she appears older, but she thinks
That's
about
why.
how barely a season passed. She was a young woman, a young, very beautiful woman who many men were proposing to, and she was denying them all. And she now she has a child that's sucking her life away.
Which is yeah. No, I think it's I got that a little mixed up because that description, she's so old. And so the entire time imagining like this really old lady, which is true, but she's young, so
She's very young. Kind of a kind of an extreme metaphor for motherhood.
I know. I thought the same thing. I was like, oof, it's a bit harsher than I feel like most mothers would feel, but I think some
It
maybe do feel that way
it
sometimes, which is
it rings
valid.
true. It rings
Yeah.
true, I think, in a lot of ways that even the best parents have days where, and now neither of us are parents or even close to the stage where we're going to be parents. But
Nope.
I feel like even the best parents have days where they're like, man, life would be so much easier if I did not have a child.
And then they wake up the next morning they're like, man, this is amazing. I'm like, that sounds like too much of a roller coaster. I'd have an upset stomach.
Yeah. I did want to read the Mybe's thoughts here. A mother's instincts ever abided. It was not right to curse them, to lash out at the bindings of love that came in the division of flesh. For all the flaws raging within her, and for all the twisted demands woven into her daughter, the Mybe could not, would not spin webs of hate.
Pretty cool.
And then Corlat comes up. They have a conversation that we don't really get the full context here in this section about Calor and why he wants to kill Silver Fox and all of the tensions within their camp. We get that a bit later.
Hmm. I will say though, one thing that I thought was interesting is kind of the background that's given on the Rivi, and just
Oh
like
yeah,
it talks about the mountains and how they're kind of sacred to them and all this other stuff. But then it's like, but then there's been wars upon wars upon wars, and it's kind of like desecrated how they view that stuff, which I thought was kind of sad. Reading it, you're like, oh wow, that's pretty pretty heavy to think about. I think just the sheer effect that the amount of war that's had on this people and the place that they call home. Like, I mean, it even gets brought up in the city of Pale, just like how much damage has been done and all the effects that the long, sieges and stuff have taken onto the people there.
especially here in, well, because I'm American, The very first paragraph of the chapter made me think kind of Native Americans and settlers, about how the farmers of Pale like
Yeah.
were trying to expand and farm in the hills that were sacred to the Rivi, and they paid for their
Yep.
temerity with blood.
Yeah. No, I kind of thought the same thing. I was like, that's a interesting kind of historical contrast, I think.
Yeah, and the Rivi are also a plains people that are nomadic and drive massive herds around the plain and all of that too.
Yeah.
So I do love the description of the Mibe, Silver Fox, and Corlat. Here we three stand for all to see. A child of 10 or 11 years, a woman of youthful visage with unhuman eyes, and a bent old woman. And it is in every detail an illusion, for what lies within us is reversed. I am the child. The Tai Standee has known thousands of years of life, and the girl hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. It made me that like I feel like that's just such a great way of putting most of this series so far from what I've seen. Like we keep seeing like these like most of the time we're spending with people that have been alive for, 15 to 40, 50 years and they're battling each other. And then, you keep getting these like basically immortal deities that
Yeah.
just pop in here and there. And they're like, oh yeah, a few 100,000 years ago this happened. And they're just like, you can't even fathom that. And he's like, yeah, that was like today it feels like a few, decades ago. I would imagine. Like it doesn't feel like terribly long ago. But
I mean, once you've lived for tens of thousands of years, a century, probably it feels pretty quick.
all right. It'd be kind of cool to try
Like,
just once.
like here I am at 24 years old, and it feels like 2023 has just gone by in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and then we get the parley before they go into the tent. I love that Corlett is like, man, Whiskey Jack's attractive.
Hmm. I was dying. And then you got Silver Fox like, he would make a great uncle. I'm gonna call him uncle.
Yeah,
I
before
was
he
like,
even knows who I am.
that's true though. Like from what I've heard of Whiskey Jack, he seems like kind of that like the cool uncle that would like the cool outdoorsy uncle that like knows all the cool like just random things, kind of jack of all trades,
Yeah, for sure.
kind of feeling. I think it's funny though how hairy they mentioned he was.
Yeah, Review men are not that hairy,
Nope.
even still. Let's see. We get a description of Calor and how he just always seems bored with campaigns and stuff, and it's just like something he does,
It's just
but
like
he
part
he
of him.
puts no real effort into it. Yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting interaction. Like there's not many times where I read a story and I feel like on edge. And this scene,
hey, let's go.
this could go one of two ways. And it went how I hoped it would go. Like they greeted each other and they're like, "Yeah, we fought. That sucked. Ready to go fight this other guy."
Yeah,
They're
we
like, "Yeah,
respect each other.
yeah." And so, but even like through that whole meeting, especially with Cowler, like trying to, kill Silver Fox or attack her. Like I'm like the entire time, like there's been very rare circumstances, me reading a book or listening to one where I'm like kind of on edge. And it was through most of those scenes, I was just like, please, let's just get out of this, like, and make sure this just works. Like, I don't want them to start duking it out now.
Yeah, we get
But
Silver Fox says that Artanthos, the standard bearer, is not what he appears.
we haven't met him, right?
No, we have not met Artanthos before. And then the Crimson Guard just are not here. If you remember, they're the ones that were protecting Crocus the whole time in Guardians of the Moon. They're like the
Oh
hidden
yeah,
ones. They're the ones that come out and fight Lorne.
that's right. They're the mercenary
Uh,
group, right?
yep, they're attending to internal matters. So, for more information on the Crimson Guard, please see Ian C. Usselant's novels of the Malazan Empire.
Really? That's those?
Part of it,
That'd
at
be
least,
cool.
yeah.
Is that at the same time right now then? Right?
Um, I think so.
Is it a trilogy?
It's 6 books.
Oh, it's 6 books for the Crimson. And you've read those, right?
Yes, I've read novels of the Malazan Empire. So the novels of the Malazan Empire, together with Book of the Fallen, make up the main Malazan books.
Okay.
So at this point, I'm kind of leaning towards wanting to intersperse. There's an order that you can read those interspersed with Book of the Fallen,
That'd
and
be
I'm
kind of
leaning
fun.
towards wanting to do that. And you jump back and forth for some of them.
Would it be right after this one, I imagine?
No, so we would read the first one after Midnight Tides, which is book
That's
five.
five. Okay. That would actually be kind of fun. We'll have to talk about it later. Or vote down below. Just kidding. Um,
Let's see. Yeah, just before they go into the tent, Dujek says, "Let us hope the Panyandoan proves a worthy foe, but not too worthy." Granted.
I love how Dujix just had this kind of like lighthearted-ish sense of humor about it all, like through the whole interaction.
Yeah, the
Like
Maib
you
is
could
like, "Yeah, they."
tell.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you just tell he's like like I feel like he's genuinely a good guy by
Yeah,
his attitude through this whole thing. Like he's just looking out for his people.
yeah, and the Maib is like, "Yeah, they've had a dozen pitch battles at least, and like a score sieges of cities and stuff, and they've battled together for 12 years." And then the Maib says, "Pragmatic soldiers are the most frightening among the people whom I have known in my short life." And Silver Fox is like, "And you doubt your own wisdom." It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, the two of them together have kind of wreaked havoc on this continent for a dozen years. The two of them together might
more or
do a
less.
little more.
I mean, hopefully they're gonna save the continent from whatever's coming.
And then they travel to the command tent through the Taistandi encampment, and it's a sad place. And the Maib thinks on how the ND just leave their dead on the field, and it's been up to the Rivi to give them funeral rites and stuff like that.
Be gnarly. Yeah, it doesn't. It feels kind of bleak. Like I like always reading this, I'm imagining like just an overcast all the time. Like it could actually be bright and sunny, like a warm tropical day, and I'm just imagining overcast no matter what's going on Kennebec. I feel like it's like Great Britain sometimes, how they portray it in some things, or Seattle, just kind of like overcast, maybe a drizzle, some fog, some cold humidity.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when it's depicting the Taistandi, like they're so sad. There's hidden tragedies hidden in their history, and there's just apathy, and like you can tell they just don't care. And it's like, well, they've at least got a cloud over their head, even if it's not cloudy outside.
Yeah.
You've got Crone sitting on top of the tent,
Oh yeah.
and she like exchanges barbs with everyone.
Like careful. Where's the beak muzzle or whatever it
Yeah,
was?
where's the beak strap? And she's like, "You better not try that again."
I was like, Crone's just like, I feel like she's really smart, but at the same time, she's really dumb. Like she gives off that vibe.
Crone's voice in my head is a female version of Iago from Aladdin.
Yago.
Iago is the parrot that the evil
Oh,
guy has in Aladdin.
yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna have to listen to that just so I can try and like picture that next time.
Iago! I can't do it.
Yeah. No, that's close enough though to like kind of remember. That's awesome. No, that's a great one.
Crone calls the my dearest clay pot. It's like, do you really have to insult her? But then she says later that she loves her, so
It's a term of affection. It's like a family matter. No, I was just
yeah.
gonna say this is where they bring in the table or mention the table.
Oh yeah, Whiskey Jock walks in and just starts laughing.
He's
And
like, you got the table.
yeah, 100 bridge burners gathered around for Fiddlers and Hedges game, and then we were attacked, and then we took the position, and then we lost the position again in about a bell, which is their version of an hour, and someone had walked off with the table.
The big table.
Yeah, like 200 pounds, he says.
Jeez. I know. I was just imagining it though. I could just imagine Whiskey Jack just having a good chuckle, like, the table from Fiddler and
Well,
Hedge.
let me say, because they mentioned the irregulars later, and Caledon Brood kind of is like, oh yeah, Whiskey Jack, you would have encountered them in a Black Dog Forest in the swamp. And once you meet the mod irregulars, you'll totally understand. Yeah, yeah, it's totally within their character to carry off the table in the middle of the battle.
Like the goblins from Clash of Clans. I feel like they just steal everything.
I've never played Clash
Even
of Clans.
oh,
And
those that you have.
Silver Fox is like, so Fiddler and Hedge cheated their games, and Whiskey Jack is like, I don't know. They make the rules so complicated, no one can tell.
Like it could be cheating or they just be there actually winning. Yeah. I think it's pretty funny that they use the deck of dragons. That's what always cracks me up. It's like I don't even remember if it was in a show or a movie, but they're like playing cards with tarot cards or something. They're
Oh
like,
yeah.
wait, that's bad luck. Don't do that. They're like, whatever.
I mean, it is mentioned Fiddler has a sensitivity for them, and Hedge mentions it later that Fiddler's always able to tell what card it is. So
Interesting.
we get a whole conversation about the situation in Kapistan, all of the tensions between the factions there.
That's where they want to strike first, right?
Yeah, that's the city where they're like, we'll save it if we can, but if not, then
Yeah.
like we'll try. Yeah, so they've the prince, to circumvent the limit on his royal army, has hired mercenaries to defend the city.
Oh, the gray swords, right?
Yeah, the gray swords.
Yep. I remembered a name for once.
Woohoo!
They're so accomplished.
And the priests, the council of priests that rules the city, frequently recruit the best of the royal guard into their own private temple guards to keep the prince from having too much power. And it's like, well, there you go. In 2 paragraphs, Erickson just once again laid out the entire politics of a city.
Yeah, it's true. And they mention they're like, well, the temple thing does make sense when it is a holy war.
Yeah. Well, they're saying that it doesn't make sense that the temples aren't using their own soldiers in a holy war.
We we haven't understood why it's a holy war yet, right?
No, we do not understand why it's a holy war.
Okay.
They talk about a governor of a city that gave the priests over to the Teniscari, and the priests got torn up and devoured. So they're facing some
Gnarly.
cannibals. Yeah.
Cannibals, they always have to be there. Can't have good epic fantasy without cannibals.
Wheel of Time doesn't have any cannibals.
And like I said,
Uh,
it's not good epic fantasy.
well, I take it back. It doesn't have human cannibals. Some of the evil minion dudes are cannibals. So
Yeah,
there
it's
you
kind of
go.
like the orcs in
Yeah,
Lord of the
Trollocs.
Rings. Yeah.
Mhm. Dujek starts talking, and Kron is like, listen to him. He and Caladan Brew talk out loud the same.
I love how Crone is just there the entire time, making her
Yeah.
sarcastic remarks. And like it's not even like she's really helping. She's just there to make the sarcastic remarks.
There's just more discussion of tactics. They don't know what the sorcery of the Panion Domain is, just that it exists. Callow reveals how deeply he hates Silver Fox.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up.
Did you catch why?
I was trying to it's because Calor knows something and I'm trying to remember because what I gathered it maybe has to do with the Talana Moss, but or is it just
So
she knows a lot? Or it's
so
Night
the
Chill, right?
yeah, he mentions Night Chill, and he says something about not very inventive, is she?
Yep. So obviously he has something against her. I didn't exactly catch
I
why, but
oh, okay. I'm trying to get you to the. So he says Night Chill, not very inventive. Think of some of the characters we met in the prologue with Calor.
mm, that would make sense. That's the lady.
Yeah, Sister of Cold Knights, Night Chill.
Yeah, that makes sense. Not very inventive. Okay, because like when you mention him, like it has to be something with the ancient thing. So Jagu or Night Chill. And now that makes sense. So she died ish.
Yeah, remember outside Pale, she was like demons were
Yeah.
summoned and tore her apart. And
Yep.
then Tadosil's spell, like sealing spell, helped her escape into the remains.
Yep. I was just trying to remember the curse that he gave her. Was it the
Was it,
companionship one? Like you'll be betrayed.
as for you, woman, unhuman hands shall tear your body into pieces upon a field of battle, yet you shall know no respite.
So that's literally what happened to her. She got
Yeah, there you go.
destroyed by a demon. It's kind of gnarly to think about though. Like these powerful ascendants just keep getting beat up by like the dumbest things, I feel like sometimes. Like I feel like for being so powerful and immortal, like I feel like you'd have to die like in a different way.
That might be a theme.
It's like just so lame sometimes.
Whiskey Jack proves how good of a dude he is. Harm a child, I would not beat you senseless, Calor. I would rip your heart out. And then Calor makes some sarcastic comment, and Whiskey Jack's like, that'll do, and just bitch slaps him with his gauntlet across the face.
And I love it how it's like the sarcasm of like, oh, I'm so scared.
And then Brew just immediately steps in and Keller cannot move.
Yep. Bird's insane. Like I just imagine this massive mountain of a person
Oh,
that's
yeah,
like
he's
would
giant.
would flick you in the head or something and like knock you out cold,
Also has a gigantic hammer strapped across his back.
which is pretty awesome. Like I love that that's his weapon.
Huchek pulls out a rag that this is a
Oh,
detail from Gardens of the Moon that remember one of the mages is like, you still got shaving cream on your face, and he like pulls out a rag to wipe it off.
oh
He pulls
yeah.
off one that's still crusted with like shaving soap and tosses it to Calor.
He's like, keep it. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty awesome interaction. Like Whiskey Jack, like we haven't met him a ton. I don't feel like we've seen him a ton. And so it's been really, I've really enjoyed this section just to see kind of the person he is. And we get like a really nice POV of his thought process through everything.
Yeah.
And I like just still that slap, I was like, that was like the pins and needles went away after that slap. Cause then you see Brood step in to like hold him down. And I was like, all right, at least we're on the same page.
Yeah, they're getting along now.
Yeah.
And then Whiskey Jack reels and like takes it. We get taken through his full thought process. And he's like, oh crap, Perron's here. He and Tattersail. Uh-oh, that might cause some complications.
I know. Yeah. I think it's this scene as well where Silver Fox reveals who she is and like some of her powers, right?
Yeah. Silver
Yeah.
Fox also learns here that she actually is draining the life force from her mom, which she did not know before.
She's a little distraught by that.
Understandably so.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool though that we finally got like a really nice info dump
Mm-hmm.
for once. And it like he kind of didn't hold back on like it was like a full course buffet kind of info
Yes.
dump.
Yes.
For
I
like
the first time I was reading the series, I sent a message to one of my friends because he knew that I was reading this. He hasn't read it still, but I told him the beginning of this book is so nice because you've been craving so much information for so long. And then the first few chapters are just like people walking around camp and talking, but you're getting information, so you love it.
oh, I know. Like when she's like, yeah, I'm Tattersall and Nightshield combined. I am the Jagut
Uh,
or the Talana
born,
Mass
yeah,
chosen one. I was born in a dream kind of thing in two different ways. There's an elder god and it's Talana Mass and my mom. And like it was kind of nice. I'm like, this is exactly what I've been wanting for so long. And then like even later on, I think in maybe the next chapter, they dive into Warrens a little bit.
oh,
Because
mm-hmm.
I think here as well, she mentions though, she's like in Calor, like there's a whole Warren destroyed because of you, or
Yes,
someone says something like that. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. We're getting just so much stuff. Like this is awesome.
yeah. And as Whiskey Jack is reeling, he meets eyes with Corlat, and he's like, holy crap, she is beautiful and Dujek is ugly. I chose the wrong side. And
He's
just kind of agrees to meet with her.
like, of course I'll meet with you.
And then we get Crone panicking about what Animander Rake would think if he knew where they were from. But then later Corlett is like, the Great Ravens like to think that we don't know where they came from. They try to keep it a secret, but we know.
Yeah. Which was another amazing info dump of just like they were born from the maggots of the crippled god when he fell down and destroyed everything. I was like, oh, thank you. They're like, and they feed on magic, which I was like, I feel like we knew that before, but
Yeah,
just
we did.
like reminding that again, I was like, because we haven't seen him for a whole book. It was a kind of nice reminder. So I was like, oh, this is exactly what I've wanted. I was like, this is enough to keep me going. So
Calor kind of fights back against the narrative of the Talani Mass being the good guys. Like, you eradicated them for a handful of tyrants. Most of them, their crime was to exist.
oh yeah, the Jagoot.
Mm-hmm.
And because they talked about the ice and stuff. And then the description of like the whole ritual of she's like, I'm the first Talana Mass to be born that's like flesh and blood. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, Silver Fox claps back at him. Do not hint at injustices, High King. I possess enough of Nightshield's memories to recall the Imperial Warren, the place you once ruled, Calor, before the Malazans made claim to it. You stripped life from it and left nothing but ash and charred bones. And Calor says, "Ah, you are there, but hiding, I think, twisting the truth into false memories."
What a liar he is. He sits on a throne of lies. Also
Play the
skulls and bones.
skulls and bones, yes. Let's see. The Mybe and Corlat and Whiskey Jack all leave the tent with Silver Fox. Silver Fox kind of remembers Whiskey Jack, just kind of an impression that he was a friend, and he says yes, and she asks to speak to Ganoes.
He's like, this is going to be awkward.
Is it even my business?
Which, like, honestly, like, whenever they keep mentioning this whole lover scenario, I'm like, wait, didn't they just, like, spend one night together? Like, how long really was it?
Yeah, so I think people outside may have twisted it into something more than it was.
Because, like, that, like, even, like, when we see Piran, like, his POV, like, I feel it's more just, like, they like each other, but it's, like, they're unsure.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like I don't
definitely.
feel like they spend enough time together because like every time they bring it up, I'm like, are they though?
No,
Like,
they spent a few days together, which one night exploded into passion and a one night stand, and then they separated.
yeah, I was gonna say like
That
it
that
wasn't.
that was the extent of their relationship.
Yeah, I was like, it kind of threw me for a loop when they kept mentioning it. I was like, are they lovers though? Like, what's going on here?
I think because we see this next chapter, and we can discuss it a little more then. But Whiskey Jack says to Piran, like, we need every advantage we can get with Silver Fox. If you can bring Tattersail to the front,
Oh
then
yeah,
she won't betray us.
it's true.
Yeah, and then Corlat wonders where Bellerdan is, the other mage that died.
The guy just disappeared. We don't know what happened.
Yeah, and that's unless you have anything else about Corlat and Whiskey Jack's conversation, that's the end basically of chapter 3.
I mean, you gotta talk to the attractive lady.
Oh, of course.
That's a win for Whiskey Jack. I'm rooting for that. I know nothing's gonna happen there, but I mean, he kind of deserves someone nice after all he's been through.
Well, I mean, Corlat does seem to reciprocate a little.
Just a
I
little.
am pleased to have met you as well. Silver Fox spoke true words when she said she trusted you, and I believe I do as well.
Yeah. I was like, hey, hey,
And
Whiskey Jack.
she did say he was attractive when she first saw him.
Yeah, a little hairy, but attractive.
Well,
And my,
it wasn't Corlat that made the hairy comment. It was the Mybe that was like,
oh, that's true.
I'm glad Rivi women or Rivi men aren't so hairy."
Yeah. I'm like, this feels more like a proper love arc than Kalam and what's her bucket?
Manala.
Manala. Oh geez. No, I don't have too many more thoughts. It was a fun chapter. I enjoyed that info dump. I was like, this is what I needed for so long, and I finally got it.
Yeah, very much so. Let's see. Chapter 4. Gruntle drives the wagon across the river. While Stoney and Harlow get cleaned up, he starts a cook fire and sees his friend Buke take up a new contract with Beauchelane and Corbel Broach. Buke's family died in a fire while he was passed out drunk, and he only takes the riskiest contracts, trying to die fighting. He believes that Corbel Broach is the killer from Darujistan and means to kill him. Quick Ben visits the world's oldest witch of Tens, or Tennis, not sure how to pronounce that, about Burns' infection. Later, he informs Piran that they've been called to Brood's camp. Piran orders Spindle, who wears a shirt made from his dead mother's hair, to access his warren to keep things away from them, and it makes the animals around them go crazy. Once they arrive, Dujek pulls Piran aside to give him the news of his family. Piran stands alone on one of Pale's barrows, reflecting on adulthood and memories. Whiskey Jack approaches and tells him of Silver Fox. He wants Piran to draw Tattersail to the fore and to not mention a word of his escapade within Dragnapur. A squad of bridge burners steals Brood's table back to run a card game. Spindle fails and they all lose their money, but they discover that it's because a new card has been painted on the underside of the table, a new unaligned card in the deck of dragons. Silver Fox theorizes that the deck of dragons and the Azath houses are one and the same, and that Dragnapur contains the gate into the Warren of Darkness. She also believes that Piran is the master of the deck. He doesn't like the thought and believes that he will fail.
That was such a lame chapter. I was so disappointed.
I thought for a
There's so
second you
much
might
that
be
happened.
serious.
of course not. No, that chapter, like, we get the cool info dump, and I was like, this is awesome. All right, let's see what happens next. And then it's like info dump, info dump, info dump. And I'm
Yep,
like,
yep.
touchdown. Malazan book 3. We get what we need.
Yeah, so Gruntle win a bet and gets to sit on the top of the carriage while his friends do the hard work.
They're like, why do we get you back here? He's like, you lost.
Harlow's
And I
like, you
just,
always win.
I know. And I just love how I'm like, that just sounds so miserable though. Like the description where they're just like covered in mud and water. I was like, that
Yeah.
sounds awful.
Well, because they bet that Beauchelain and Corbel Birch's carriage wouldn't be able to make it across the river. And Gruntle has a feeling that, they're not ones to get dirty in the muck, so he bets that they will. And
Smartest bet.
they glide right across.
No, of course those guys, like, are you guys that dumb? Like, of course they're gonna have some way to get across without any issues.
Well, Stunny and Harlow have not met the pair yet. Gruntle's the only one
That's an
that's
unfair
talked with
bet.
them.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, Gruntle thinks it's an unfair bet. That's the best kind.
Yeah. Wish that's how it worked in the real world sometimes.
And then what did you think of Buke, the tragic caravan guard?
Felt bad for him. I think it's interesting though that they add character, like he adds a character like him to the story. Like I
Yeah.
don't know what significance he's gonna have, but if any, but he's just kind of there now. Like this, like just another piece to this like really cool world, which I don't know. I think it's like a sad but cool detail to add. I mean, he's very much in the YOLO mindset now, where he's like, "Yeah, do what I gotta do."
Yeah. Within I will bring this up many more times, I'm sure, but Erickson's ability to within like a paragraph or two help you fully understand a character
Yeah,
is just really cool. And how Buke was a drunk, but he feels like being a drunk is what caused the death of his family. So instead of turning to more drink, he went sober and now just wants to die.
yeah.
But in an honorable way to kind of redeem himself from, yeah, even though it likely was not his fault.
No, no. I think it's like I feel like this is what I really appreciate about some epic fantasy sometimes. Like I like this is more of a comment on the bigger scale things, but like just how much detail that an author can add just because they can add it. Like this scene, I feel like could have been completed without any issues of them, the mud, and kind of just chilling, and him and like Gruntle thinking to himself while the other two get cleaned up or something.
Yeah.
Or like him just like wandering around camp, getting things set up, getting things going. But no, they add in this really interesting kind of just another person to this world, just to add another person and like kind of liven up and give someone Gruntle to talk to, which I think is really cool and really fun.
Yeah, someone for him to bounce stuff off of.
Yeah.
Yeah, Crunch was like, too bad Buke is too good at fighting and killing to die easily.
Oh, I know. Poor bloke. He's way too good at his job because he chooses everything solo as well,
Uh-huh.
which it's pretty wild.
Yeah, we learned that Corbel Birch is likely the one behind a string of horrific murders in Darujistan, and Buke wants to bring him to justice the old-fashioned way.
Go now. Was he though? That's what I was trying to remember. I kept like thinking back and I was like, who are they referring to?
Yeah, it was Corbel Birch.
So he
Let's
was in
see.
Darujistan?
Yeah, because they left from Darujistan.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Weird. For some reason I can't figure out who he was from Gardens.
I mean, Buke is making a bit of an assumption because the murder stopped when Beauchelain and Corbel Birch left, and he just assumes that it's Corbel Birch.
Yeah. That's where I was a little confused because I was like, what string of murders is it referring to? Like the assassins all dying or
No, this is one that we didn't see on page. That he just informs us that there was a string of murders in Darujistan
Oh,
a
okay,
few
okay.
weeks back. Yeah, this is not something that we
Mhm.
saw.
That's good to know. I was a little confused because like I don't remember any of this.
Let's see. Harlow and Stoney come back. We learn that Stoney cares for Buke and won't admit it.
Oh, just admit it, you're in love. She's in
Uh,
love and doesn't care who knows it.
she says that what Buke needs is a woman's hand on his sword grip, and then Harlow makes him, or she says it's not his appearance that it's not his appearance that one balks at, it's his attitude, the opposite of you. And Harlow says, "Sweet on my personality. If I fixed my face, would you be down?" And she says, "Everyone knows that two-handed sword of yours is a pathetic attempt at compensation."
Yeah. I think I made a
Oh, the
note of this
banter.
section. I was gonna say, like, I remember this section because the banter. I thought it was so funny. Let's see. Yeah, no, I did make a note on this one.
Yeah. There may be someone out there that I haven't read, but I've never encountered like banter between characters that's better than Erickson.
Yeah. Oh no, this was the part I loved was the poeticness of it all with the iron flower petals.
Oh yeah.
And then and then because he's like because Stoney's like, what's poetic about not making sense? You're as big as an idiot as Book and Harlow Gruntle. I'm surrounded by thick-skulled, witless fools. And then he's just like, it's your lot in life, alas. Here, have some tea. You could do with the warmth.
Yeah.
I was
There's
dying.
no there's no such thing as iron petals. You don't get iron flowers, and hearts aren't flowers. They're big red messy things in your chest.
She does not understand symbolism at all, or whatever that is.
The next scene we get Quick Ben visiting the world's oldest witch of tennis, or tens, which is the path of the land, the land warren,
She's
asking
in a
her about
warren.
Burn. No, she's just the oldest witch of tennis, which is the warren of the land. So they're not in a warren, but
Okay, because
she's
I
a
was gonna
user.
say,
She's a user of that warren.
okay, she's a user.
And like yeah, like a worshiper of Burn.
Interesting.
Did you catch some of the interesting comments she makes about Quick Ben?
He's from Seven Cities.
She says, "I sniffed Raraku, didn't I?" And then color the coin of your questions, 12 souls.
Yeah, because then as well mentioned his real name a couple, I think once.
Yeah, she calls
Um,
him a Defon Delat.
what else?
You get kind of an answer about what Burn is because you were kind of confused about how Burn can be the earth, but yet there's land spirits and things like that.
It's the Warren of the Earth
So she
or
says that the
something.
world is shaped like a beetle's ball of dung, and it travels through a chilling void around the sun. The surface floats in pieces on a sea of molten rock. Sometimes the pieces grind together, sometimes they pull apart. Pulled and pushed by tides as the seed are pulled and pushed. And where is the goddess in such a scheme? She was the dung within the egg, hatched long ago. Her mind rides the hidden rivers beneath our feet.
So she's kind of like she's the glue between everything, then
Yeah, that's a good
more or less.
kind of, or she exists within the earth, but she is the goddess of the earth.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Why does Burn sleep? She sleeps to dream. And then later the witch says, "Delirium descends, lad. Dreams become nightmares."
She has a delirium and fevered.
Mm-hmm.
So Raraku, I'm already forgetting. Is that where the rebellion is? Like the heart of the rebellion? That's the desert.
Yeah, that's where most of Felison's like story and Deadhouse Gates took
Okay.
place. Yep. So that is where the rebellion is, and that's where Felison took the army back from Eren to Raraku.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't have much else about the section, to be honest. He gives the witch another pebble. He's just
Yeah.
continuing to use those pebbles.
I think it's so funny. Pebbles and money. The 12 souls, though, does that mean it's the 12 Warrens he has access to? That's what I think.
Raffo.
I mean, that's my guess. Or is he a Tattersail Night Chill?
Raffo.
I haven't heard that one in a minute. Yeah. So next
Uh,
up is Peron, right?
yeah, Piran and Quick Ben. And Piran's like, "You look miserable, mage, and that makes me nervous. You don't want to know, Captain. Trust me in this." And it's like, "Quick Ben, will you just effing tell someone something?"
You don't have to bottle it all up inside. You can ask for some help.
Sure, it's decades away, but you're talking about the potential end of the effing world here, Quick Ben. You can tell someone.
Hey, but they got bigger fish to fry right now. They got the Panion Dom, if
Yeah,
that's how you say it.
a relatively small empire. That's a bigger fish than the end of the world.
No, at least right now in the time frame. I
I
mean,
guess it's a more immediate problem.
because like you got to get rid of the like what's a good analogy for that? Oh, you gotta, clear out the wound before you can start, patching it up, I guess. Get rid of them or else you're not gonna be able to help the world because they're just gonna be on their weird religious run of attacks.
Yeah, maybe. Quran thinks about the normal Malazan method of taking control, that they install bureaucratic leaders and then take over the black market. And Quran's like, we can't even take over the above ground economy.
He's like, how are you gonna take control of the black market? Which is the claw's job, which they have done.
Yeah, Quran's like, normally we get imperial aid and there's none coming. And it's funny how everyone else, actually, I won't say that. Never mind.
Oh,
So when I mentioned Spindle in the summary, Matt was just shaking his head for a little bit. What did you
it's
think
so
of
bizarre.
Spindle in his hair shirt?
I remember reading it. I was like, is it just a strand, like a weird braid he has on his shirt? No, it is. Oh,
It's
I
the
was so
shirt
grossed
itself.
out. So grossed out. That was like his mom must have had a lot of hair as well.
Yeah,
That's how has it
and it's
lasted that long as well?
mentioned later he hasn't washed it because his mom never washed it.
It's so gross. There's not many things that gross me out, I feel like it, but that is one of them. Oh,
Oh, I love it when an author just includes a detail that is like so bizarre, and they're just like, "Screw it, I'm going for it."
they just do
Like
it. Yeah.
I'm going for the absurd. And then as well, Spindle's Warren makes all of the cats and dogs and animals around them like go wild.
And of course, we're back at, yeah, no explanation.
Oh yeah, of course. It's not his
Yeah.
Warren, Captain. It's the way he accesses it.
Yeah. Which, yeah. Yeah. Spindle's so bizarre.
They're right across the killing field of Pale, and Peron thinks about how I kind of feel like my whole life has been violence, but it's just been a few years. And it's like,
Wow.
yeah, Peron, you've seen some shit.
Really has. Yeah. Saw Anime Rake, kill a couple things, saw God, couple gods actually. Kind of have some words.
Traveled within the sword, received some brutal claw training.
Yep. Oh, he was chosen by a god for a
Yeah,
little bit. He ain't no noble born now.
nope. I felt kind of bad for him when he was like, no matter what, Tavor will take care of Fellison. That at least I can take comfort from. And then a page
Oh,
later gets the news about his family.
that was so bad. I was like, no, don't tell him. Don't tell him.
He deserves to know.
I mean, he doesn't know though that his sister's soon to be the goddess reborn of an entire
Of
rebellion
the
that's
rebellion,
now,
yeah.
and it's his two sisters that are fighting to take control of an
Well,
entire continent.
that also has not happened yet because Deadhouse Gates and this are happening simultaneously.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But I mean, like, he doesn't know that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, so I would this is happening about the same time, like I would say probably a few weeks or days after the prologue of Deadhouse Gates, where Fellison gets chained up and sent to the slave ships. And then maybe a couple weeks from now is when Kalam and Fiddler are going to land on Seven Cities.
Gotcha.
We find out his mother committed suicide because his dad died and she chose to join him.
She's like, what's poppin' hood? Can I go with? Like, I don't want to be on this side anymore.
That was a dark joke. Oh my god.
Ah. Hey, I mean, you make a joke about a crazy person, right?
I mean, I'm not going to judge the mom is crazy.
Yeah.
Her husband died. Her house was thrown into disarray. Nobleborn were being pulled out of their houses and raped. I'm not going to judge her for that.
Not only were they raped, they're then killed.
Yep.
So a lot of them, which is rather
And,
unfortunate.
and there might have also been some necrophilia going on. It's slightly implied, but so
No bueno.
yeah, Prawn he pretends to handle the news well. He doesn't handle it particularly well. Just completely deadpan to Dujek and then goes off to be by himself and stare at the night.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very classic case of just like, you all right? Yeah, I'm totally fine. I'm totally fine. Don't worry about it. Let me
Yeah,
just
well,
go stand alone and look over a vista and reflect on the terribleness of what's happened.
yeah. And then while he's standing there, he thinks that he's not a man of tears, which is true. And then he's also not one to rail at the world. And I'm like, bull crap, Peron. You have been complaining the entire time that we've seen you. Like, understandably so because of your circumstances, but don't kid yourself. You're someone that complains and rails at the circumstances of the world around you.
True.
I did want to point this out because Peron is thinking about like memories and childhood, and it very much echoes something from Fellison in Dead House Gates. Death and dying makes us into children once again, in truth, one last time, there in our final wailing cries. More than one philosopher has claimed that we ever remain children, far beneath the indurated layers that make up the armor of adulthood. Armor encumbers, restricts the body and soul within it, but it also protects. Blows are blunted, feelings lose their edge, leaving us to suffer not but a plague of bruises, and after a time, bruises fade. And it just really reminded me of when Bowden dies and the line about Fellison, like, armor can hide anything, even a child, especially a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not taking it well.
Nope. Which is understandable. On a separate continent in a war, just found out your two sisters are, well, one's now thrown into the slave camp, and the other takes up the old position of someone you had worked with.
Yeah, and also is the one that put your younger sister in the slave camp.
Yep.
And then the 1-2 punch, Whiskey Jack comes up behind him and is like, so come meet Silver Fox.
Yeah, you're not gonna like this. Who's Silver Fox? Well, it's Tattersail.
And
What?
Night Chill.
And Night Chill. What? And she's a kid. What? He's like, no. He's like, she's a child.
Peron's like, oh yeah, she's a soul taken, by the way. And Whiskey Jack is like, how do you know? I know.
He's like, yeah, don't worry about it. I know what I'm talking about.
Silver Fox has given him a Rivi name, Genisand Roll, which is the Wanderer within the sword.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool name.
And Whiskey Jack's like, never tell Animander Rake. Like, never tell him.
Don't tell him you went in and you came out and you freed a couple wolves or hounds. Yeah. And I think it's kind of funny that they have like Quick Ben there and a couple other mages, and they're just kind of all there, and they're like, I just imagine this circle of all these adults and then the child in the middle, and they're like, hey, it's your ex-lover reborn.
Quick Ben and Mallet have exhausted their warrens trying to find out what exactly Silver Fox is. Yeah.
They're pooped.
And then after that very depressing scene, we get the bridge burners stealing the table.
That was hilarious.
They can barely lift it with 4 of them, and then 6 of them just take it.
I know. I was like, of course they would be the ones to be like, hey, that's our table.
Hedge is like, hey, I'm part of your squad now. My squad was disbanded, so I'm going to teach you all the secret, and we're going to make a ton of money. And then right after this section where they set up the table and everything, it's like all the other soldiers walked away laughing with jingling purses.
Bulging purses.
Yeah,
tons
and
of money.
And the squad lost all of their money because they couldn't get it to work.
Like, what happened? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, well, look, the table's its own card. And he's like, crap. It was bad luck.
Yeah. Spender's like, I need to study it. And then Hedge is like, and then once you know the relationship, we can run a new game and get our money back.
But he's like, while I study it, I'm going to need some paintbrushes, all these art supplies, basically. He just
walks away muttering.
I was like, this is pretty gnarly, this Deck of Dragons business.
Yeah, but I'm like, that's kind of ballsy, you guys. You stuck into the tent of an ascendant to steal his table.
I mean, why not? They're the bridge burners, the sappers, they don't care.
Can't you make this thing any lighter? What kind of mage are you anyway? A weak one.
Like, I don't lighten tables here, bud. That's not his Warren. That's not the power he has. Isn't that like who's the in the boat? He's like, I don't have a boat fixing Warren.
Oh yeah. Duke is like, Colt, what was your Warren again? Boat repair.
Wow.
Yeah, and then
awesome.
After that we get the most info dumpy section of this chapter. Silver Fox theorizing, what if the Deck of Dragons with the houses and the Azath houses are the same thing?
And like how it all interconnects on the Warrens and how people take charge of the Warrens and stuff.
Yeah, and why didn't Shadowthrone and Cotillion, if they went into Dead House, ascend to the throne of death because Hood is already there ruling death, and so they found an unoccupied warren because Shadow hasn't had rulers besides the Hounds for like millennia.
Yep. Can you imagine like this would be kind of funny. You got they're like ascendant, and then it like pops up like a spirit Warren realtor, like, hey, let's go find you a Warren to rule.
Well, it also does make sense because I mean the Shadow Warren includes assassinations and stuff, and Dancer was this master assassin.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Like it kind of pairs up with death and darkness and all that. Like it's in the same family.
Yeah. Let's see. The word finest, which is the object that Raced kept his power in, is known as hold device. Hold was
Hmm.
synonymous with house and was also synonymous with Warren. And where does a Jagged's wellspring of power reside? In a finest. Tremolor, which Fiddler and the group were at the end of Deadhouse Gates, is Trellich for House of Life.
Oh, interesting. That's right. Right.
And now, if you remember, that was all overgrown with weeds and trees and roots and stuff.
Changing living maze.
Let's see. What of the deck's unaligned? Failed aspects, the imposition of chance or random forces. The Azath and the deck are both impositions of order, but even order needs freedom, lest it solidify and become fragile.
Yep. And then she theorizes the new card.
Yep, the new card is him.
Oh, and then it talks about the sword worm and how it's clogging up the other Warren
Yeah.
to try and seal it off.
Animander Rake is Knight of the House of Dark, yet where is the house itself? Before all else there was dark, and the mother who birthed all. So it must be an ancient place, a hold, or perhaps something that came before holds themselves.
Yep.
And then Peron says, before houses there were holds, both fixed, both stationary, settled. Before settlement there was wandering, house from hold from a gate in motion, ceaseless motion, a wagon, burdened beneath the countless souls, sealing the gate into dark.
Yep. Thought that was such a cool line in description.
And then Silver Fox, you must find the answer for your own creation. Peron's like, are you giving me a quest? Only fools and stories go on quests.
I was like, oh, so now we're going to the standard quest line here. The hero has been chosen from a prophecy.
Yep. And yeah, Peron's like, no, I'm the wrong choice. I was chosen by a god before. No, thank you. I don't care. I don't want to do it.
He's like, ask them. It didn't go great.
Which is kind of a nice change for because lots of times in fantasy, the chosen one is like, okay, I'll do it. Like just
You're like, I have to.
Kind of accepts it, and Peron's like, no, screw that.
I mean, it's been done before, kind of that idea, but this one I thought was rather nice because there's so many other things going on. There's
Yeah.
so many other things that he's did, like he's had experience. So it's not like a farm boy, like you're going on an adventure to beat the dragon.
Yeah. It doesn't even really feel like he's the chosen one trope either.
No, not at
Because
all.
he's just one character in this vast like list of I guess this vast cast of characters. He's just one.
I know. It's like I feel like there's been a lot of tropes in certain aspects, but they've all been like sort of modified to fit within this grand big picture, you know.
Yeah. I think Erickson intentionally has tried to subvert a lot of tropes. Like Kalam brings the book to Shaik, and then immediately Shaik is killed. And it's like, that's not how that goes.
Well, it's like Kalam, you think it's going to be this big epic quest, and it's like chapter 4. He's delivered the book.
And then
Like,
you think his big epic quest is to kill Lucien, and it's going to end in this big confrontation, and it's a conversation.
yeah. And it's just like, what's up, homie? Hey, what's up? You're not really here, are you? No, I'm not. Why'd you do this? Well, this happened. Oh, okay. Well, we'll see you later.
Yeah. Coltane should win the day in a last epic stand, but nope.
Oh, that one hurt.
Crocus and Chalice, the nobleborn girl, are going to be Romeo and Juliet, but nope. Race is going to be this huge villain for all 10 of the books. Nope, he's taken care of in book 1.
Not even by the big powerful dudes, by the sidekicks to the powerful dudes.
Yeah,
Right.
pretty much.
He's like, hey,
Uh,
my dragon guys, you want to go just take care of that dude real quick? They're like, yeah, we got this. Don't worry. You go enjoy your party.
Yeah. Deadhouse Gates also sets up like, hey, maybe the Jagged Talani mass conflict is not as black and white as you thought it was in Gardens of the Moon.
Kind of a reversal.
Yeah. Yeah, those are all the examples that are coming to mind right now, but
It's quite a few. Have you read the books before? I feel like you've read them.
yeah, maybe a little bit.
Maybe just a little. That's right. Yeah. You had mentioned it. You mentioned it.
Yeah, this may be my fourth time through.
Something like that. Barely any. Spotify's no, it's yeah, Spotify's year in book review, but it's Nate with three reads of Malazan.
Yeah, that's that's about all I have for chapter 4. Unless you have any more thoughts on Silver Fox and Piran's conversation.
I just think it's so funny how you just keep getting Piran's mind of like, she's a girl, she's a little, there's a little child.
Yeah. I don't think he's
Like,
even tempted that much, but he's like, this is weird.
yeah, no, that's why I think it's so funny. It's just like it's not a ton, like it's not very prevalent, which I like, which I'm
Yeah.
happy it wasn't like kind of weirdly drug out, but it's just kind of funny where it's like she's like, this is weird. This shouldn't be a thing. No,
Yeah.
there
And
I forgot what I was gonna say, but you know, go ahead.
I don't know. I can't remember what I was going to say either.
Well, maybe that's our stopping point then. We forgot what we were saying, everyone. So we're just gonna
Well,
end it here. Just kidding.
yeah. Just some fun things to keep in mind going forward with other Azath houses and houses of the deck and holds and all of that. Fun, juicy, metaphysical, magical stuff that you've been waiting for 2 books to get, and then you get it here.
Oh, I know. I've been so happy with these past two chapters. I read them. I read chapter 3 last night before I went to bed, and I read chapter 4 on the train this morning. And I was like, both chapters, both times, I was like, this is exactly what I want. Just like explanations that are not like insanely in depth, but they're good enough for me to think about for a little bit to be like, okay, that makes a little more sense.
I guess I can kind of figure out right now where we're going to read to next time. Because chapter 5 is 54 pages. Oh, and then chapter 6 takes us to the end of book 1. So if we read both, that would be 80 pages. So I think we'll just do chapters 5 and 6 next time.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Almost done with the semester anyway, so I have a little extra time this
Sweet.
week.
We may also do a collaboration episode with D&J's Epic Quest when we get to the same chapter as them, because they've been going
That's
one
right.
chapter at a time. So I think around chapter 8 or 9, or maybe because they record in advance as well, maybe 10 or 11, we might do a collaboration episode with them just when we reach the same point, because then
They're
we'll pass
madmen.
them and then we'll have to go on their show to collab in the future.
That would be a lot of fun. Yeah. Those guys are madmen. When he was on, I was like, oh wow, I can't believe like I haven't had a lot of time to listen, like because when I want to listen to some of the podcasts, like I feel bad I haven't really listened to anyone. I've also kind of wanted to stay away a little bit just because I worried about spoilers.
Yeah.
But no, when I listened to one of their Dead House ones, I was like, wow, these guys go way in depth. This is pretty sweet. It's a
They
really cool
go
perspective they
in
have.
in depth. Like we're kind of dipping our feet into the water a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah. Like I feel like it's like we're more the hot take in some aspects of like what this is what we think, and they're like, all right, let's dive into class today. Lecture 10 of Malazan, Book of the Fallen,
Yeah,
semester three.
it's really impressive what they're doing. So they
It's
just
awesome.
and we're about to read chapter 5 this week, which they did. They had like their episode on it is a little under 5 hours long. So that might get you excited because there is a lot in chapter 5.
When you mentioned that, I was like, I need to take some actual real better notes because I've just made marks of like pages I've liked. But no, I'm gonna have to. I want to take this next one a little more seriously, but
I
we'll
still am
see.
not taking notes, and I might need to because already these chapters were hard to summarize because it's so much
It really
in
is.
these
It's
two
a lot.
chapters. So I might start taking better notes just so outside of the summary I can remember some more things. But
Well,
yeah, I think that's all for this week.
it is.
How was that,
How's that,
Todd?
Todd?